guys, it's currently 12:30 a.m. here, so I'm trying not to be too loud. Maybe that will make this more of like a ASMR style video because my husband is sleeping in the other room, but I've been wanting to make this video for a long time and my baby's asleep and I'm quite awake, so I think we should just jump into it. So basically, we've all seen these videos of AI building websites in 30 seconds, but there's a massive difference between a site that looks pretty and a site that functions, is secure, cost-effective, and easy to scale. But that doesn't mean that we can't use AI to make a functional, effective, secure website, optimized for mobile especially, which I know is going to be a major concern. So I'm starting a new series that talks about how to use a hybrid approach where you use an LLM, like my favorite for coding and everybody's favorite for coding, what everybody recommends, Claude, to help you develop a website with custom code in a child theme. And that sounds really hard, but after you get past the initial learning curve of learning the basics of how it was done traditionally, you'll find that it's actually a lot faster and easier to edit a website with custom code and make your own child theme, which is not the same as creating a theme from scratch. This is GeneratePress with my CSS on top. Instead of using a page builder such as Divi or Elementor. Okay, so I'm introducing a new web series about developing with AI in a hybrid approach where you're not using it to write all the folders and the files and everything with just a prompt and spitting out a website. That's not what we're doing. We're creating those folders and we're copying and pasting code from the LLM into those files, which if you did create it, this is what it looks like. I'll show you. This is my child theme. It's based off of the parent theme. The parent theme can get updated, but it will not override my child theme. So I'm introducing this new web series, and today's video is going to be about what a child theme is, why you should develop with customized AI-generated code instead of builders such as Divi, Elementor, or off of WordPress, Framer, Wix, and Shopify, how to research and prompt, how to start a new project on WordPress with a solid foundation. In future divers, we'll be videoing deep into troubleshooting with Claude Code, creating responsive custom animated elements, and building a professional-grade custom child theme from scratch. Okay, so that's my introduction, and that's where the script is pretty much ending, but I do have an outline for what I want to say. Oh my god, but I lost the notes. There's so many things going on in my notes. Oh god. Okay, here we go. Goals of video. So originally I wanted to make a video for people like me that I went to college for graphic design, so I know how to use all Adobe programs pretty well. I never understood Dreamweaver. That shit was batshit insane. So we'll just disregard that because it's dead and it will be dead forever. But I do know how to use all the other Adobe programs pretty much. I've played with all of them, including like Adobe Animate. I also, when I went to college for graphic design, I learned HTML and CSS, and I bought textbooks actually on like PHP and everything, but I didn't never take a class on it, so I never really understood any of that stuff. This website has custom JavaScript, it has custom CSS, and it has custom PHP. So let's talk about, we'll start with, I'll explain. I wanted to make a video for people like me that are developing a website with AI and they have a problem and they're trying to troubleshoot how to fix it, because I spent many an hour sending 1,000 screenshots to Claude saying like, just move this 5 pixels to the right. Why can't you do it? And it was always because there was like a conflict or something stupid. And I found like a very easy workflow for doing that, which is all about just learn how to use inspect, learn how to, don't be afraid of using this mode. When you have a problem with an element, you can just go into inspect and get these styles, copy and paste this, say it's this element here that you're having a problem with. Let's say you find it in your list. I don't know why it's being, oh god. That red is a leftover thing in my cache that shouldn't be there. I don't know why it's being difficult. Anyways, so but then I realized that we need to actually start earlier on, because I need to start with convincing people that they should be developing a child theme website with custom code and not using Elementor and Divi and all those kinds of things. And actually, I found a really good parallel that explains why builders are so outdated compared to custom coding with AI. And it was actually because I played with SVG Gator. And it's a very good parallel and a very good explanation, because this is a very similar concept to a page builder or anything that you drag. It's a drag and drop interface where you can design a simple animation and then it spits out CSS and SVG code. So this is an SVG, which is a type of vector illustration. Okay, so a vector illustration, I made it in here. This is what I ended up using. But a vector illustration is, now believe me, just bear with me. Okay, this is this is a really good explanation as to why page builders are inferior. You just gotta stick with me for a little while and you'll understand why. Okay, so we're just gonna understand what a vector is really quick. And a vector is a very, very simple way to create a graphic element, because instead of this being millions of pixels with millions of tiny dots that are all technically code and it's literally millions of lines of code, this is rendered with code on its own. If I export this shit, what's SVG? If I export this shit, right, and I go here and I open this with a notepad, this is that. That's all it is. It's just code. That's all a photo is also just code, but it's millions of lines of code. This is 2,000 characters. This is 49 lines of code to render this, because all it is strokes and fills. That's all a vector is, right? So what you can do is you can animate a vector. And so this I have on my website as an animated vector right here. So all this is it's a mask layer, and there's an orb of light that is traveling through that mask of layer on an infinite loop forever. That's all it is, right? So I wanted to create this animated vector logo, and I'd never created an animated icon before. I created a billion SVGs, but I didn't know anything about it. So I looked up, I found SVG Gator, which allowed me to import my this is a slightly more complicated version of that, but it's really not that much more complicated. And I'm not going to redo this as an example, but because I realized that these lines and shit in here, this is just 5 shapes instead of 1. But I realized that it's when it's scaled down, it's not noticeable. Anyways, but I wanted to create this animation. So this is that ball on a path. Let me see. Okay, it's a very simple animation. It's on a path. It goes like this, and that's it. And it's masked here in this layer. Why can't I open up the... Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's this ball, right? It's traveling on this path, and it's in a mask, which is keeping it so that way you don't see the ball outside of the mask, right? Okay, so I exported this, and I wanted to put it on my website. And so I'll show you. This is what it exported. And this is what, if you use any sort of drag and drop builder for anything, it creates this crazy monster code. Now this doesn't look crazy, but that's because there's no wrapping on the text. It goes and 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 it goes, and it's 55,000 characters of text. So I uploaded this file to Claude, and I was like, hey Claude, can you just remove the watermark that's on this? You know, like, is there a simple way to do that? And I was like, oh yeah, you just remove these 4 lines of code and it should be gone. That didn't work. It didn't get rid of it. So I was like, okay, maybe I should just pay for SVG Gator. And it was like, you don't have to pay for SVG Gator. I can create this. And I was like, what? And it literally generated the exact check the exact thing without me doing anything else. It wasn't right. It was a little bit off, but it literally was just like, oh yeah, I can do that. And I was like, what? So I rebuilt the file in Illustrator with like better labels, because when you build a file for animation, you want to like, I don't know why my layers panel is closing. You want to just have nice labels and everything, because these become labels actually. So these are layer titles, but when you export it, they become labels of your elements. And so I could tell it, hey, there's a circle and a mask. Make it move on this line on this layer. So I told it that, right? And Claude generated the same exact check mark. Okay, you want to see how much code it was? Where is this one? Oh wait, it's already open. I opened it because I know I was going to talk about this. Okay. It is 2,161 total characters, 36 lines of code. So, these two things do the same exact thing. This one was technically, I will tell you, was technically, this one. 55,000 lines of code, or 55,000 characters versus 2,161. They do the same exact thing. This one had, an extra 20 lines, 20 characters of code for those objects that are irrelevant because they're not animated or anything, but very static difference. It very incredibly negligible. So it's a very good comparison. Right. So Claude can animate icons with CSS, because this is CSS animation, which I didn't even know was a thing until I explored all of this. The point is that why does SVG Gator generate this code when you export? Well, it's because they don't want you to do things like turn on animation on hover, because you can easily see it in the code where to change it. And they don't want you to easily see where their watermark is, so you can just delete that, right? Because they don't want you to generate an icon on their website, export it, and then edit the code for free. And it doesn't even matter, because you can only generate 3 icons a month for free with SVG Gator. So it's like, unless you want to keep signing up with emails to do it that way. But it's all because builders, and that's what I'm comparing them to, is that if you build like a table, when you look at the HTML code, when Elementor builds a table, or when Elementor builds an animated carousel, it's going to look like this. It's going to be 200,000 lines of code instead of, 50. This is 50 lines of code. This is 36 lines of code. This is an animated icon. This is the whole thing. Okay, this is the entire thing. It actually got smaller after the animation added by Claude. I don't know how we did it. Okay. But, like, this isn't, like, linked to this. This is the entire thing all in one thing. Okay? Like, this is my animated carousel. If you built this carousel with Elementor, this is 311 lines of code. And this is what it looks like on my website, because it's actually a pretty complicated thing. It infinitely loops. There's an animation in, an animation out. The backgrounds are behind a thing, a blue, semi-transparent, semi-opaque thing, and it pauses on hover, all that kind of stuff. It has a responsiveness to mobile. It looks different on mobile. But the point is that if I had used a drag and drop builder to make this image carousel, and then I wanted to stop using that builder, and I copied their HTML and I pasted it somewhere else, it would work, but I wouldn't be able to ever edit it again without their builder, right? And there could be an update or something that would make it break, because the code wouldn't look like this. It would all be on one line, and to make it look really crazy, and there wouldn't be comments explaining what things are. And this is Claude generated code. This is very clean. This is, this is actually not the final version. So, this is amazing. This is incredible. This is insane. This code is so high quality, so easy for me after it's done to be like, I just want to adjust this color. I just want to adjust this padding. I just want to adjust the speed. I just want to do whatever. It's all very easy to change stuff in here. especially because if you want to, when you're first learning how to edit code, you can ask Claude, be like, okay, you just sent me this code. How do I adjust the padding in this part? Or how do I change this color? Or how do I change the speed? And it will give you a snippet of code and be like, exactly like this. You find this snippet and you copy and paste my snippet and it will make that change. And then from there, you now know how to edit the code to whatever you want. And if you get confused, you can always go back to that. So that's why. My very convoluted explanation as to why page builders like Elementor and Divi and Framer and Wix and Weebly and Shopify, they are incentivized to keep you locked in to their platform. So that means that they generate convoluted, complex, bloated code, because when a code is, for some reason, 55,000 characters instead of 2,000 characters, when a code is the equivalent, if it was broken up into lines, of 20,000 lines of code instead of 60, you have to ask yourself, how is that affecting your website? Your performance. People talk about how a complex website built on Elementor. Somebody was talking about how they found they had a client come to them because they had their website built on Elementor and it became more complicated because they added so many products and all these things. Some of their pages were taking 60 seconds to load. And you know what's not uncommon is a 10-second load speed. My website loads in 1.2 seconds on mobile. On desktop, it loads in 0.7 seconds. Okay, so my website's a very simple website. At the end of the day, it's actually not, but it looks very simple, which is the goal. But you want to avoid all those lines of code. So an Elementor website, when you have 10 elements, 10 HTML elements like this. Of course, Elementor, I don't think Elementor could do this. Could do this zoom tool thing that I built with Claude. This was the first thing I built, by the way. It was very ambitious. I had done HTML before, so I kind of knew, but this whole zoom tool thing and making it work on mobile, oh my gosh, did I spend a long time on this. It would be a lot easier for me to do now. But anyways, all these things, this table, would I be able to do custom sticky rows on the left? So our prices stay there so you can compare them to everybody else's prices, simply? Would that be possible to do on Elementor? I have no idea. But I do know that even if it is possible to do it the same, it would be 20,000 lines of it would be 100,000 lines of code. It would be 10 bazillion million quadrillion lines of code. So on my website, I'll show you. This is what it looks like. Let me show you actually. Okay, so now we've explained what the difference is. People, there's a misconception that builders are faster to maintain, especially. Oh, I want to change the colors. Oh, I want to add data. Oh, adding data with AI is the easiest thing in the world to do. Let me show you, like here, if I wanted to go to that, this is the price comparison tool, okay? If I wanted to add another competitor that I found, I would get their data and make an Excel sheet, very simple, with like Google Sheets, with their prices at all these quantities. I would just open the existing sheet I have, right? I would put in their data. I would I would export that as a Excel sheet, take that to Claude and be like, hey, Claude, here's this HTML tool. I would write this in, and here's new data. I want you to add another competitor. Boom, done. That would take 60 seconds. Elementor, I don't know how it works. I probably should have. Maybe in the future I'll make a deep dive into Elementor so I can answer these questions for myself. I'm curious. But who knows? Maybe you can import an Excel sheet, but who knows if it would, would it know to put this in that row? Would it know to put this in this special 3-piece row that's underneath it? And would you be able to enter this data? Would you have to copy and paste each one in? Because that's way more time than just importing an Excel sheet to Claude and saying, put in the data, create a new competitor, done, right? That takes 30 seconds. I bet you on Elementor it would take at least 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. Okay, so I don't think Elementor has an option to have an animated border that goes away on mobile. Who knows? These are the questions I will look into. But I do know that this border I spent so much time on, and it is optimized to not affect performance at all on desktop. And on mobile, it kind of had an effect, so I couldn't do it on mobile. But yeah, it has no impact whatsoever on desktop. So anyways, so what's the alternative to using page builders, right? The best alternative to using page builders is to create what is called a child theme. Now, a lot of people don't know that child themes exist. What a child theme is where you take a theme like GeneratePress, which will be under my appearance and themes, right? Okay, so this is my website. Whoops, wrong thing. I want to hide this. Hide controls. This is my website without my CSS file active. This is my website without any of my overrides. Right, it's very ugly. I don't know why these short forms don't work, but oh yeah, because my short forms are coded in my CSS. Yeah, so like you can't even see my login buttons. So this is the theme GeneratePress with 0 customization added on. So all a child theme is here. This is a preview, right? I'm like scared I activated it. Okay. So there's basically 3 options for building a website on WordPress. Well, I mean, I guess there's 4 because you can use like the Elementor theme and the Elementor builder, right? And then some people use another theme, an Elementor builder on top, which is silly, I think. But we're not going to talk about those people. Or you can use a WordPress theme. I highly recommend GeneratePress, but there's also Bloxy is good. There's Bloxy, Astra, and Cadence are the like 3 things I see coming up the most. What it is this has all of these like basic functions like a 404 page, everything, the bones, the structure of your website, okay? And what makes a theme different at the end of the day, all themes are very, 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 very similar, even though there's 20 bazillion of them for some reason. If you go here, this is what changes the most. If you pick a different theme, you're going to see different options under layout. You might see different options for your footer. You might see different options for your menu. These are things that are difficult to override. Like, even though I have extremely customized CSS and everything, this still overrides that instantly, right? Oh God, what did I do? I don't know. I'm scared. Yes, I do want them to be lost. I don't know what I did. I'm so tired, I'm sorry. Okay. So anyways, what a child theme is when you take a theme and it's linked to this theme. So if they say, oh, there's a security update because there's malware, and so we've updated our theme to not get affected by that malware, whatever it is, it still updates. What your theme does is it overrides everything visual. It overrides everything. You can override anything and everything, pretty much, with the important tag, right? This shit will say, screw whatever, ignore all previous instructions, listen to this. And when things weren't working right, I put them everywhere. So it's not necessary to do it to this degree, but I have. But basically, if you didn't do this, right, if you went to the parent theme and you just like dumped, you like edited whatever, I don't know, I've never tried it because you're not supposed to be doing that. That's why it says caution, it says not to do this. It says not to edit this file. When they update the theme, it would just delete whatever you added. So that's why it's very stupid to do that. So you don't do that. What you do is when you want to create you can create any kind of file. You want to create a new JavaScript file, you want to create a new PHP file, you want to create a new CSS file, you want to create a new whatever. You put them into a theme, you enqueue that theme, you enqueue the parent theme into your child theme, and then everything that you add into your child theme, the parent theme can no longer edit or override or delete when it gets updated. It's very simple. So this is just your code on top of a parent theme. If there's nothing telling it what a border should be in the parent theme, then your code will just make a border. If they update the parent theme and it says, oh, actually all borders are going to be 5 pixels and black, right? If they update the parent theme to say that, then you now need to overwrite that with important. You understand? So they would never update a theme to say that, and the reason is because those are things that you're supposed to edit with your theme under the customizer that I showed you. But if you want to just make CSS, which is better, you can put all of your CSS into one CSS file. You don't need to I have multiple CSS files going on. I also have a folder for CSS that I put nothing into yet because I have to change how it's enqueued if I do that. I have to do this, actually, and I don't want to do that. I haven't decided if I'm going to do this. So this is a hybrid model approach of organization. I thought about organizing my files into folders, and then I was like, nah, because I didn't at first, and so now it's a mess. So this one file is in the folder, and it's enqueued to that folder, but nothing else is. Technically, you can have one CSS file, you can have one PHP file, and you can have one JavaScript file, but it's better to organize them into separate files, because that way when you want to edit it in the future, you won't accidentally edit something else. I'll be right back. My baby's awake. So, and to explain also what enqueuing just basically means to load this into the file. So it's just saying this file located here in my host files. And if you want to create a child theme, all you have to do is go to Claude and be like, hey, I want to create a child theme. What theme do you recommend? What I recommend, if you want to build a site with the help of AI and not entirely by AI, is you go to Claude. And the reason why I don't recommend using one of those, like, what is it called, like Lovable or something? I don't know. One of those websites that just generates an entire website based on a prompt, is because none of that is functional or secure. So when you build a website on WordPress, it's very difficult for an AI to create all of that, to create a website on WordPress. There's people that are trying to make it so agents can access your WordPress account and directly edit your files, which is also extremely dangerous because it can mess up your whole website. So you wouldn't want to do that on a live website, because AI can be very stupid sometimes and do really stupid things. I discovered the dumbest thing ever earlier today that AI did with something I coded earlier before I understood what I was doing, and I used Opus. Like, Sonnet made the mistake, and I used Opus to figure out what was causing this problem. So anyways, and those are just two versions of Claude, right? So Sonnet is like slightly dumb Claude, and Opus is super genius Claude. For the sake of your own organization and planning and everything like that, whenever you want to create a website, the best thing to do is to start with a business plan. So if you're creating a website for yourself, for your own project, for your own product or business plan or whatever, you want to write the equivalent of a business plan for your industry. If you are building a website for a client, you want to get their okay, hopefully she stays. She's used to sleeping with me in the room. I sleep in the same room as her, so she's just used to waking up for a second and seeing me laying there. So she's like, what's going on? Alright, so let's say you've decided, okay, you've made a good argument, you made a compelling argument, as to why I should make a child theme. We could talk about the other option is to fork a theme or to create a theme from scratch. Why would you want to create all of this? Does this look fun? Does this look like... Yeah, I want to leave. I don't want to cheat. Does this look like fun code to write? Does this look like you want to spend an afternoon creating these files and putting this code here? Does this look entertaining to you? Like, why? Do you want to maintain those things? Do you want to stay on top of new security updates to the web, new requirements from Google, new laws getting passed about cookies and stuff like that, and updating those things? Or do you want somebody else to do all that for free for you? Because personally, I like that somebody's doing all those things for free for me. So yeah, you can fork a theme where you take all of that I just showed you, and you cut it off from updates so they can never update it for you again for free. Or you can create a child theme on top. They can never override any of your overrides unless you don't have an important tag and they add it, right? Which doesn't happen because that's not what theme updaters generally do. Elementor might do something like that, but normal theme updaters won't do those things. Some of the biggest differences in themes is like having a side menu that pops up on mobile, and this is a custom coded menu. I could have it stick to the top very easily if I wanted to. You can also have like a side menu appear, which is really popular for e-commerce if you want to have a complicated, like you have a lot of products and you want people to manage their shopping cart. But yeah, I didn't want all those things. So my website is just, this is what my website looks like on a desktop. This is what my website looks like on a tablet. This is what what it looks like on a small tablet, and this is what it looks like on a phone. And this is what it looks like on the spawn of Satan. Anyways. So, okay. I've convinced you, hopefully. I don't know. I seem to be rambling a lot. That you want to go ahead and not use a page builder, block builder, and you do want to, I can show you, have a child theme, right? Like order. This kind of looks overwhelming because it's so ugly without the styles, but this is just, it's actually nice that it's so simple. You can at least do this, right? But it's nice when you want, I have spacers, I have custom HTML, I have paragraphs, I have headers. Is this the wrong header? Why are you there? Stop that. What is wrong? This is supposed to be that. Okay. Anyways, this I will save. There's a couple of things that you need to customize in your parent theme by using the customizer, like hiding this order thing is a thing that you just click this over here, stuff like that. But if you have anything like that you're struggling with and you're not sure, do I need to overwrite this with CSS? You can always ask AI. But what I recommend, okay, so here's the workflow. You decide you want to do a child theme. What I was saying before is you want to write a business plan or get the business plan if you're building the website for somebody else, because you want themes like the brand, goals, the motto, the purpose of the website, the headline, the intended target audience, the hook. You want all this written down ahead of time, especially because you can take all of that and you can say, hey, I'm building a website for this business, and upload the business plan, use this to, and you want to have like things like your color palette in there, and use this to help me decide an aesthetic for the website. You can do things as well where you take your business plan. I conserve my Claude because I'll show you why. You have limited usage. I have Claude Pro, and I've used 5% of my week, and it is Tuesday. I've used quite a bit, but I've gotten very good about conserving my tokens because last week I used 90%. The week before that I used 90%. And you can always pay for more, right? But what you can do to conserve your usage is you want to, anything that brainstorming, helping you write your business plan, helping you design your aesthetic, brainstorming what kind of design you want to have, all those kinds of things. Gemini is generally better. You can use the free version of Gemini to do a lot of those kinds of things. Uh, you can also use ChatGPT and Grok. I've pretty much switched just between. I used to be addicted to ChatGPT, but now I exclusively switch between Claude and Gemini, and then I look at the other two every once in a while, but just to see what they say in comparison. But they're kind of like the dumb inbred child version of those of Claude and Gemini. So right now, ChatGPT still generates some images better, and then Gemini still generates some images better. So just depends. Gemini's generally better for UI anyways. But yeah, generating like concept images like that, a lot of the times it's better still to Photoshop things, and you can send Photoshopped images to AI. What's really amazing is Claude. I don't know how. I tried researching this. I was like, how does AI even scan images and understand so much about them based on like uploading an image? Because what it's doing is it's reading the code of that image and it's understanding what it looks like, even though it's an image. Like, it's such a weird thing. I was just like, how does artificial intelligence see a screenshot and understand, like, oh, the padding on the left is messed up? But it does. It understands. It's very strange. But anyways, you can first write a business plan, then use the business plan to write a site plan. So you say, here's the business plan. Here's what we want the website to achieve. Help me decide what the pages should be, what the titles for those pages should be, what the goal for those pages, for each of those pages should be. You want to write an outline. You want to figure out what HTML elements you want to design on each page. You want to decide what kind of web shop you want to have, and all those kinds of things. And then you say, I want to make a child theme of Bloxy, Astra, Cadence, or GeneratePress. That's what I recommend. You can use any other theme in the world. There's 20,000 of them, but those are the best ones. They're updated all the time, supported. They have millions of users, so there's a lot of other people troubleshooting them. There's a lot of articles about all of those things. And then you go to AI and you can also say, like, which theme do you recommend for what I'm trying to do? Or you can say, I've decided we want to make a child theme of this. And you can say, go ahead and write all of the files I need to make my child theme. And then, actually, this is something I did years ago when I first tried to code an app. I tried to code an app with AI like 4 years ago. And you can start by building a file that has all of your folders and file names in it, because then you can use that in the future to tell AI, like, we want to enqueue these files into this file. Then it knows your map. It knows your navigation, so it can say /blank/folder/JavaScript. There's the file, right? So that can help with generating code and stuff like that, to have that written down and to update that. It's not always necessary. If your website's really, really simple and you're only going to have 4 files, you don't need folders. That's what I thought. So I started out without folders, and now I want to add folders, and I don't want to I don't want to rewrite all the enqueuing file code. So I haven't actually done it yet because I don't know if I'm gonna. But one of these days I might be like, screw it. I have nothing better to do. I'm gonna do all this. I'm just gonna enqueue these. It would only take me 20 minutes, but I don't want to do it. Anyways, let's go back to looking at the pretty website. And then you would say to generate those, and then you would go to your host website, and you would click on your website, your hosting plan's website, after you've set up your website, all those kinds of things. And you would click on your files, and you would create under themes, and AI will tell you exactly what to do, but you will create a folder and then you will create all the folders inside of that folder, and then you'll create the files, and then you just copy and paste the code that AI wrote into those files, and now you have, and you should be able to start with a basic CSS. Like I started with my glass morphism panels coded and all those things. I added like these animated borders after the fact. But yes. So all of that can be done in 20 minutes, right? I'm taking way longer to explain it than it necessarily takes. If you already have a business plan, if you already have a site plan mapped out, it doesn't have to be such a long, complicated prompt. You can say glass morphism panels. You can say blocks of color. You can say whatever you want to say, however you want to do. No wrapper, headless design, anything like this. And then after you get your CSS done and looking right, and you have your menu done and looking right, then you can start moving on to knocking out all of these individual HTML elements. One at a time, you start a chat, you say, I want to create an image carousel, and you upload the images, and then you tell AI, write the HTML code for this. Right? You describe what you want, I want the zoom tool, blah, blah, blah. This is all just stuff that was HTML coded with it. So I wanted to talk about troubleshooting, right? So this is the best thing. If you're struggling with anything, like say this, let's say this paragraph here, this whole element is just stuck to the left of the wrapper. It's supposed to be center, and it's just sticking to this left border, and we don't know why. So the best thing to do, when I first started out, I'd be like, okay, I'll take a screenshot, I'll describe the problem, I'll upload the code, and the related CSS, and say like, why is this happening? And then it would go, I don't know, you could try changing this, you could try changing that, and we would go on for hours. The better way is to go into, learn how to use this. All you do is you right click, inspect. Well, you can go right click and you can click on the thing and say inspect element, right? And that brings you to this thing, okay? And you can say, well, it's this whole thing, right? So you say, oh, it's this. It's showing you there. Then there's two things AI will ask for to help you understand why this is happening. There's the actual HTML code here, which you can say copy element, take this back and be like, yo, Claude, this is the element. I don't know why, but it is floating to the left and it's supposed to be centered. And then you can go back here and you can grab styles. You can grab computed styles, and you can say, I've attached computed styles. I wonder what it would say if I literally just like sent this to it without saying anything. Oh God, what have I done? You could grab styles, right? For all of this, doesn't matter, who cares? Just upload all of this, and then I'm just gonna send that to it. And it'll just be like, yeah. So normally, if I was troubleshooting it, I would have explained, like, for some reason, this is sticking to the left. Like, I could be like, for some reason, this is floating to the left. It's supposed to be center. It's gonna get mad at me because I'm lying to it. There's nothing wrong with it. Just kidding. I'm making a video about you. You. Anyways, so I just wasted all my tokens, but it's okay. So that's the best way to troubleshoot anything. If you're having a problem, is to learn how to use the inspect tool to grab the code that is giving you problems and send that to AI and have it be like, you'll also have to go to where you'll spend 1,000,000 years if you do this. Your theme editor, your child press theme, your child generate press theme, or whatever it is. And then you would get like, this would be the relevant CSS. If I actually had a problem with that, it would actually be right here. It would be this. But there's no problem with those. So it was a prank. Anyways, so we'll talk about conserving tokens. So one of the best things you can do for conserving tokens is learning how to edit code. And what I recommend for that is to install Notepad++. What I learned in college. This is the only thing I learned in college that was valuable, actually, was to install this program. And it's a free version of Notepad where if you save a file as SVG or HTML or PHP or JavaScript or anything else, it will color code it. And what that means is that if you have any code in this file that is not said code, you can do that, right? You can put CSS in, this is CSS. You can put CSS in HTML and combine them into one file, but it will only show you the HTML color coding for that. And like this, I was moving all of this random CSS that ended up in my PHP file because I didn't know how to prompt correctly. So I moved all of my random CSS that was in my PHP into CSS files, and then I reorganized in my functions file a while ago, and I never closed it, so I was just showing you. But that's what you can see. You can literally see, like, oh, there's a chunk of CSS I want to get out, you know. And I already showed you this. And this one is what it looks like if you haven't saved it as anything. This is an SVG file, but this is an SVG file, but then this is the CSS animation on top. Okay, so once you have the reason why this is so nice is because you can say, like, file, open a new one. You can copy and paste your HTML code in. You can grab the new version from Claude, and then you can paste that and see it on your website, and then go, oh, that completely broke it. And then you can go back to your file and grab the not broken code and be like, we got to start over. So it's kind of like having a mini backup of your files, right? It's like saving 60 versions of your file if you're working in Illustrator or Photoshop or whatever. It's the same kind of thought process of, I'm going to create a copy of this code before I edit it in case I really mess it up. So I have a snapshot of when it was working. To go back to, if it's better to just start over again when you're troubleshooting something, what you want to do is conserve tokens. So, like I said, using other free AI for non-coding related things, because Claude is best at coding, and only using Claude for coding. And then in Claude, you have the option to use the highest model, which is Opus. But whenever I use Opus, like if I use Opus and it either has to read a lot of code or generate a lot of code, it'll use 10% of my weekly usage in a session very, very quickly. Like 3 prompts and I've used 10% of my weekly. So I mostly use Sonnet 4.6 and for everything, and then if I cannot get it to work with Sonnet 4.6, what I'll do is I'll say, hey, I'm gonna I was trying to think if there's like a PR word of, I'm gonna refer this to your supervisor, Opus. Just like tell me what the problem is and what we're trying to solve, and I'll literally have it summarize what it's been trying to do, and then I'll take that and copy and paste it into a new chat and start a chat with Opus and be like, hey, Sonnet can't figure this out, can you? And it always can. I've never come to a problem where forwarding it to Opus didn't work. Every time that you ask AI, how can I change this color? How can I change this padding or this margin? Or how can I center this? How can I align this to the left? Whenever you say those kinds of things and it gives you a snippet of code, you want to do that because otherwise, if you have it generate an HTML tool that's 600 lines of code and you say, I want to change the color from red to purple, it will rewrite 600 lines of code to change a hex number from red to purple. So, and it will just do that. And it will just waste 2% of your weekly usage and do that when you could say, tell me how I can change that color. and then it'll say you go to this section of code, and then what you can do is you can copy and you can control F in here, and you can, so like say I want to edit, you know, the blurriness of the background, it'll say, oh, you go here, you find it, and it says you want to edit the blur. If you change this to 3, it will become more blurry. If you change it to 0, it will have no blur whatsoever, right? So, and then you can learn how to change things. And every time that you do that, you understand a little bit more about coding, which helps you in the future with troubleshooting, and you learn. And also, like, I've taken things, I've gotten pretty complicated where I'll take an entire HTML block of code and it says that we're troubleshooting it, and I'll change 3 blocks and then I'll paste that into my HTML block on my page and preview it and publish it and see if it works, right? Something else I highly recommend is I'll be putting like example prompts in my description, but you always want to include things like make sure this is mobile optimized, make sure this is performance optimized. Before you write any code, let's talk about performance. Let's say, what's the best way we can implement this where it will perform well, where it won't affect performance. And you can say, I want it to look like this, but if is there a better way to do that won't take up so much performance? And a lot of times it'll say, oh yeah, there's a better way to do it, but a lot of times it'll say, no, we can actually make it look exactly like that and it won't affect performance, and here's why. And it's all very interesting to learn about. Like, if you go to this website, and what I do is anytime I build any sort of HTML tool or whatever and I publish it, before I publish it, I run a page speed test, and then after I publish it, I run another page speed test. I've had it be where I implement something like I literally just I added this image carousel, and my performance dropped from 97%, what it was at the time, and it dropped to 80% just because I added that. And I'd be like, Claude, why did my performance drop by this? And you can copy and paste stuff from here, which will explain why that happened, and then what's causing your performance to drop. And then it can help you say, like, we need to rewrite the code in a way that's better optimized. Like the way that I did this looks almost exactly the same as when I first implemented it a week ago, this animated border, but I actually changed how I implemented it completely, and I did it in a completely new way because it affected performance on desktop. It went from being 100% to like 85 or something like that, and I was not willing to do that. So I went back to AI, and I actually, it's funny because I implemented this in a different way because it was a solid line, or because it was a straight line instead of, this was originally rounded, and instead of having to go around in a square. And this had 0 impact on my performance, and this was majorly impacting my performance. And I actually like disabled this and I enabled this, and it went back to 100%. I was like, oh, so it is possible to do this. So I literally just took this and I did it 4 times on each side. Instead of having it be one big animation, it's 4 separate animations. And that's actually, because this is in the CPU instead of the GPU, it doesn't affect performance. So actually the opposite, because this is in the GPU and not the CPU. I can't remember, something like that. Anyways, so whenever you're writing a prompt, you want to say, I want to do this. Will it affect performance? If it will, is there a better way to do it? I want to make sure that everything has mobile optimization, that everything has a mobile version. I want to make sure, and then you want to test that. So you should always test on your device, right? But this switches to, which one is mobile, actually? This is mobile? Yeah, this is mobile. And you can switch to seeing what it looks like on mobile and desktop, but you should also constantly check on a device, on an actual cell phone, on an actual tablet if you can, because things can happen that you don't expect. Also, that isn't visible from here. You also want to install different browsers on your mobile device and check it with different browsers, especially like Firefox can have a lot of problems that other browsers don't have. And yeah, so token conservation is all about learning how to edit code, not write code. Just say, tell me, Claude, how do I change the color? How do I change the padding? How do I change this color? How do I change the alignment? How do I change the placement? Right. It's also about adjusting your mindset and looking at it as every problem is a learning experience rather than an obstacle between you and your goal. You might have a goal of having a nice animated carousel that reacts to hover, that reacts to click. But, every time that it's not working and you're troubleshooting, you're learning. And it will help you prompt better in the future, help you edit better in the future, and avoid problems in the first place. And everything that you do helps you learn how to design things in a way that prevents problems in the future, that has mobile optimization built into it, and that has more efficiency with your tokens. How much AI you're using to get things done. I also wanted to talk about plugins. So plugins are another thing. They're like your parent theme. A lot of the times they're like your parent theme, where it's just code. It's just PHP or JavaScript or a mix of the two, that add features to your website that you could anything that a plugin can do, you can write the code with AI and do it yourself. But you have to make the decision if you want to or not. For example, I was looking at getting a shopping cart plugin called what is it called? Shoot, to show you I have to just show you my shopping cart. I have to go to my website's kind of more live now, so I've turned this off so nobody can buy stuff yet. But I'll turn it on first. So, I installed Checkout with WC, and I was considering paying $150 a year for it, and it looked very similar to this, except for it put it on a white background, and it was telling me that I had to pay to not have it be on a white background and stuff like that. And then I literally took screenshots, and I took the page source code, and I took element source code, and I asked Claude to write me a cart code. We ended up doing a checkout CSS and a checkout JavaScript, because I put in like a automatic address lookup API to prevent people from putting in their addresses wrong and not getting their orders delivered, which was a big problem before. So, and sorry, I'm getting tired. And then I uninstalled and deactivated that plugin, and I don't pay $150 a year for it because I already have to pay $20 a month for this API minimum. So it was getting really hard because initially they were like, oh yeah, Streety Smart's API, you can do 1,000 lookups a month for free. And then when I went on their website, it was $17 a month now. There is no free version anymore. There's like a 45-day free trial. And then I would have to pay the shopping cart that had the API more easily integrated for me. Like, I was like, screw it, I'm going to do it all. And so what I did is I copied and pasted all of the Smarty Streets documentation that Claude wanted. I asked it what documentation it wanted, and I gave it all to it, and then I gave it everything. So the reason why you want to avoid plugins is I lurk everything to do with WordPress on Reddit, and I also search everything to do with WordPress on Reddit whenever I'm thinking about how I want to implement something or whatever. That's another nice thing about AI is like you can learn, say you want to research what a child theme is. Right, so you say like AI is recommending I build a child theme. Let me find out what that is. So you can search child theme WordPress. And now you can read all of these posts about what a child theme is that will explain things better than I've explained them tonight. And stuff like that. And one of the main things that I see on here is WordPress hacked. I see all sorts of websites that got hacked by WordPress. So all sorts of websites on here that get hacked all the time. And I would say probably the number one cause is fake plugin installs. You install a plugin into your website that's fake, or a plugin into your website that gets hacked by somebody else because nobody's maintaining it. And it can log into your account and create a hidden admin account, and then it can delete your website, take your website for ransom. It can create a bunch of hidden pages that show up on Google, or it could redirect your website to a gambling website. Those are kinds of things. So every single plugin that you install, and you can see how many I have installed here. Like I have like 6 plugins. Every single plugin that you install is now a liability. So you only want to install plugins that have been updated recently, that have a lot of users, that have a lot of reviews. And you pretty much only want to install plugins that you see in the official plugin marketplace, because those are not going to be ones that are legit, the developer intentionally made malicious, that are like straight up malware. You can get plugins from other website and upload them to your website, and if you do that, then there's a chance that it's just straight up malware, or that it's somebody pretending to be that plugin. But you can buy plugins from their marketplace or install free ones. Almost every plugin has a free version. Look at this 2 stars. I want to know why does this have 2 stars? These reviews are so funny. 7 months and a week ago. I like this one. Drawbacks of a page builders without their benefits. Especially with AI now. Okay. What are the 5-star reviews? Better. So, like, I did plugins to do things like give custom statuses on my order statuses, cancel order, and then basic stuff like security, caching, and yeah, that's it. Everything else I'm doing myself pretty much. You want to avoid plugins, because what they can do is they can either add bloat, which is just code that your website doesn't actually use, features that your website that you don't actually use, but they still load, and so they slow down your website for no reason. Or it's just way too much code for what it does, because there's all these features, especially features that are locked behind a paywall that you don't use, but they still load, but you can't use them. And all sorts of things like that. That's like why you want to avoid plugins when you can, but sometimes it makes more sense, like with your parent theme, to not build things that are free that somebody else has already done. That gives it to you for free, and it will always be for free. That's the thing, is that some plugins, that they're free now, but then a year from now they might say, actually we want $10 a month for you to continue using this plugin. It's not the end of the world, because at that point you can be like, screw that, I'll just custom code it now, I'll just write the code now. But if you don't want to do that, you can just pay the $10 a month then, or but that's the biggest, one of the biggest pitfalls. The biggest pitfall is the malware. The second one is the bloating. And the third is that the terms can change. They can say, now it costs money, or now this feature costs money. So also, if you're looking into a plugin and you go on their website and it says that they don't have a free version, or like it says it's just $150 a year or whatever, go to the WordPress plugin marketplace and search it and install it and see, because 90% of the time when a plugin says on their website, or it appears that you can only use it if you pay for it, there's actually a free version in the marketplace, and you don't need whatever paid features are behind the paywall. So a lot of the times, if you're looking for a plugin, just go and install the highest rated, most active, most whatever one, and see if the free version works. And if it doesn't work, then go to the second one. And if that doesn't work, go to the third one. And if that doesn't work, build your own plugin or pay for a plugin. That's pretty much that. So that's it for plugins. And that's pretty much it for this video. So in the future, I thought I had like what I want to do in the future video, but I want to talk about how I generated these, especially like this, how this is, it probably looks better, but I closed it. Can I open up a private thing? Okay, forget it. I'll just open up Brave again. Or Opera. Here. So this reacts to anything that they do on this or any other board form. So this is an animated SVG. It's about, I don't know, 100 lines of code maybe. Not 60,000 as it would be if it was made by SVG Gator. And these are animated icons. I created an Illustrator and then animated with Claude. So someday I will make a video about that. I could make a video about these HTML elements, talk about making HTML elements, all of the HTML elements that I made here. And I could talk about this animated border. I could talk about CSS, whatever you want. So leave a comment if you want me to continue this series. Share this video, because if this video gets no views, as all my videos tend to do, then I'm not going to keep making them. So if you want me to keep making more videos about this, about WordPress, and AI and coding and all those kinds of things, and the best way to do it and why, then please like the video and subscribe to my channel and all those kinds of things, and share the video and comment, and then perhaps I shall. So that's it for this video, and hopefully I'll be back, and hopefully you'll share this video so I have a reason to come back and show you how to do more things and talk more about things. And the next video would be probably focused on troubleshooting, and then we would do HTML elements, and then we would do animated icons, and that would be most of the series. So if you want to see those things, please support my channel by sharing it. And that's it, and have a good day.